everyone, welcome to the channel. It's March 25th, it's opening day of turkey season here in Nebraska, so I threw on some camo, came down to Gifford Point Wildlife Management Area. It's a piece of public land in Bellevue, Nebraska. Gonna hike in. It's about a 3/4 of a mile hike or so to the Wildlife Management Area from the parking lot. Gonna hike in and see if we can hear a bird this morning. This is the parking lot at Gifford Point Wildlife Management Area. It's right next to Gifford Farm in Bellevue, Nebraska. Here's the entrance to it. There's a little gate right here that you walk through and a gravel road that you walk down to get to the Wildlife Management Area. Sounds like a bunch of the turkeys are still up on the ridges in Fontenelle forest right there, which isn't a good sign. It's also why I didn't really rush to get down here in the dark this morning. I've hunted this piece of public ground more than a couple times, and it seems like the first couple weeks of the season the birds are all still up on the ridges. It takes them a couple weeks of decent weather to get down in the river bottom down here, but figured we'd walk in, see if we can hear a bird. Got my bow on my back, and just in case something good happens, and if not, we'll look for some sheds, take some pictures, and at least have a good hike. So. As you're walking in on the road, this is going to be Fontenelle Forest property. On your right, it's marked with these red and white signs. Definitely don't want to get caught bow hunting in there. It's going to be high fenced Gifford Farm cornfield or bean field, whatever, depending on what they plant. This was corn last year. On your left, I'm sure they have to keep that fence up to keep all the wildlife from eating that whole field. And then you're going to get to a sign right here that says State Wildlife Management Area. This burnt tree right here has been here for a really long time. I use that as one of my guideposts on the way in the middle of the night in case I missed the sign. A lot of people that hunt this property, since it's half a mile or 3/4 of a mile just to get to it, a lot of the bow hunters that hunt this property hunt the first half a mile or so of it on the right hand side of this road right here. I haven't heard a turkey except for the ones I heard up on the ridges when we got out of the car. I haven't heard anything down in the river bottom this morning, so we're actually going to go over past the power plant. I'm going to walk all the way down to, this is that first half mile or so section of woods. We're going to keep going on the road around the field, and I'm going to go past the power plant right there down to where that irrigation system runs into the end of the field down there. It's one of the reasons that I like to go out and hike on the trails in the winter, is it keeps me in pretty decent shape. So I feel like if you're gonna hike more than a mile into a piece of public land, you're gonna walk past about 90% of the people that are out hunting. So just gives you a little privacy. As you can see, most of this river bottom property's really thick. There are some access roads cut through some of it. There's a few openings. A lot of the little access roads and the trails that are cut through this place don't really show on an aerial photo, so it's something that the more you hunt it, the more information you gain about how to walk through the property or where to set up. You know, a lot of the grasses grows up really tall here in the spring, so sometimes you just see turkeys' heads bobbing through the grass. So you definitely want to try and find a place that's a little more open, especially if you're going to use decoys or try and call them into you. This is actually a property where I've personally had more opportunities on this property just walking slow with my bow, stalking through the woods and getting in around the turkeys and then letting them make a mistake and getting close to me. Just rounded the corner of the cornfield. There's kind of this open grassy area with some of these smaller trees growing up in it. So I'm guessing that most people walk on the road right there because it's easy. So I'm gonna cut across this. I'm just gonna watch inside the, kind of walk the edge and watch inside the trees and see if we can find a shed laying in there. So if I find anything, I'll turn the camera back on and show you what we found. It's not as thick in here as I thought it was gonna be. A lot of times in the woods it looks thicker on the edge. It actually is once you get inside of it. Haven't seen any sheds in here so far, but keep an eye out. All right, we just got through that first section of scrub brush and just wanted to stop and go slow through it, see if I could find an antler. I haven't heard a turkey down here in the river bottom yet. That doesn't mean they're not down here, they're just not gobbling. They were gobbling pretty good up on the ridge though, so I'm guessing that if there were toms down here, they would be gobbling. You know, sometimes people walk past these little sections of woods on the way into a piece of public ground and just don't, they just assume that somebody else walked through them, and they actually don't even look to see if there's antlers in them. I found antlers 20 feet from the parking lot before, just because nobody walked through that little section of woods. They just are so excited to get back into the other sections of the areas that they just rush through the first quarter mile and don't look. So just want to keep that in mind if you're looking for antlers. It's the wrong kind of redheads that we're looking for today. There's a ton of cardinals out down here this morning. There's another one of those access roads that I was talking about. I'm pretty sure that that road goes down to a field opening and then splits off to two different trails, roads, whatever you want to call them. We're about as far away from the parking lot as you can get distance-wise on this road. actually gonna head in on this trail right here, and then I'm gonna try and get down to some thick stuff next to the river down there, see if we can find some shed antlers. I'll keep an eye on some of this thicker stuff on the way through. If we see something that looks decent, I'm gonna jump in and go shed hunt it. My logic behind this, I don't know if it's true or not. I know this place gets hunted pretty hard, deer hunted pretty hard in the fall. One of my buddies bought a permit to hunt in here. I think it's a special permit that you need to hunt in here. Said that he hiked in, set a stand, thought he heard deer all around him before the sun came up, and when the sun came up, it was like a bow hunter tree stand party. I think everybody could just see each other from their tree stand to tree stand. And so I know this gets hunted pretty hard in the fall, but I'm guessing if people access through Fontenelle Forest and come down the north side of this property and park in the same parking lot and come down the south side of this property, we're on the far east end right now, that most likely they're going to be pushing deer this way toward the river. So I'm hoping that the bucks feel a little safer back here, and that might increase our chances of finding a shed antler back here. I know that hunting season is over before deer are shedding their antlers, but it still takes those, especially those older bucks, time to calm down and move back into some of the areas that got hunted pretty hard in the fall. Another thing that happens out here, and I'm one of the people that does it, I didn't do it today because I wanted to go for an actual hike, but a lot of people get on bikes and just ride a mountain bike back in here and throw their hunting gear on their back and ride a mountain bike back in here. So maybe my logic's a little flawed there too. Maybe they do come back here more often. There's a lot of, let's see if I can zoom in on it. There's a lot of tree markers on the trees back here, so bow hunters can find their stands in the dark. Another thing I like about this property is it's bow hunting only for turkey, so you're not competing with the shotgun hunters as much. But let's work our way back, and if I find anything interesting, I'll turn the camera back on and maybe we'll find a couple antlers. This is kind of a cool little trail through the wildlife management area. I haven't actually been on this trail before. It's another reason I wanted to come out here and do a little scouting this morning. So figured if we didn't hear any turkeys, I could at least add a little knowledge of the terrain in the area. So, looks like this stuff right here is really thick. I might actually, when there's like an opening in here, I might actually just work my way around this opening, see if there's anybody hunting the opening, and if there's not, I might walk around the edges of it to see if we can find a shed. Okay, that opening that we were walking next to is right over there. There's a pretty good deer trail coming off the opening right there through the woods right here, so thought I'd just come back in here. The grass is a little taller, the undergrowth is growing up a little more. Wouldn't surprise me if there's a little low spot down in here. It wouldn't surprise me if there are deer bedding on this little swell right here. There's definitely more deer sign in here. So I'm gonna take a look around and see if we can find a shed. Thicker back in there. I like to follow these changes in elevation, thickness. Seems like deer like to stick to, when they travel, like to stick to those edges. There's a nice scrape right there in this fall. I suppose that could be a mock scrape, somebody's mock scrape too, but there is deer tracks in it. There's also a bunch of these pink ribbons right here with some, looks like tin, aluminum foil or something. Oh, it's like aluminum tape. It's just so it reflects in the light when they're sneaking in here in the middle of the night. So I'm guessing their tree stand is back in there somewhere. It's probably already gone for the season, but I can see why he was letting us stand up in here. There's a tree stand right there. He definitely hauled that thing a long way from the parking lot. If that's the way he came in, I guess they could have come in from the river on a boat. That would have been a lot shorter access. There he is. There's some river trash. Now I know what my buddy meant about people coming in here in the middle of the night and it sounding like there's deer everywhere around you. If they were all walking on these trails and not using flashlights. I'd imagine it does sound like a herd of deer stomping through the woods. This got really thick. Definitely deer tracks to it. I might actually be pushing them ahead of me. Looks like they were running when they went through here. It'd be hard to. Sometimes it's hard to see deer running ahead of you when you're looking down at the ground or sheds. It's also hard to hold the camera in the right spot when you're shed hunting. Alright, I wanted to turn the camera back on. I actually took off my bow and backpack and everything. The tree stand that we found was about maybe a half a mile back that way. I've just been kind of zigzagging through this underbrush or undergrowth. We finally found our first antler of the day. It's probably been, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile of just zigzagging through the brush. I saw this kind of dead tree that broke off, deadfall, and I've been checking all of the like fallen trees, both sides. Sometimes deer like to bed up next to them, have a little back cover behind them. Looks like our first shed right there. I haven't picked it up yet. I don't know exactly how big it is, but it looks like a little, maybe 4x4 or something. There's a lot of like deer sign around this log, around this fallen tree, I guess. Looks like a little basket 4x4. Not too bad for public land, you know. A lot of bucks on public land that are that big don't make it through the season, so I don't know. It's definitely better than nothing. Also thought I'd show you guys, while I have everything off my back, show you guys what I've been bringing with me, or what I brought with me this morning. I brought my bow, camera bag, water bottle. Then I packed up my turkey hunting vest. Got a couple turkey calls in it, a couple decoys. I was pretty positive I wouldn't have to get the decoys out, but I wanted to have them with me just in case. I also bring one of those little like pop-up chairs just in case I want to set up on a field edge or something somewhere for an hour. Just wanted to show you what kind of gear I brought to the woods with me, and we're gonna I'm gonna work some of this stuff up here. That opening is still back over here somewhere. The trees kind of stop, so I'm just basically just maybe 150 or 200 yards off the opening and just working back and forth. Wanted to turn the camera back on. That first shed that we found was about 60 yards or so back that way. I came through kind of the rough stuff right here and got to a spot on the trail where I found this bone. So I wanted to take a second, give you another shed hunting type tip. If you find bones like that, stop, look around, walk a circle around it, see if you can find the carcass. I didn't do that. As soon as I found that bone and got the camera out of the camera bag, I looked up, and I don't know how well the camera's gonna focus on this, but about like 50 yards up in the woods, there's a skull. So I'm gonna go pick that up and we'll take it home and let nature finish cleaning it off, and let's go see what it looks like. Sometimes it's cool to find the whole skull intact, but I would rather find just the sheds, because then you get a chance to hunt the deer the following year. So I'm gonna pick this up, tie it to my turkey hunting vest, and then we'll keep going. We're about, I don't know, another mile into our shed hunting this morning. I've just been zigzagging back and forth through this really thick cover. That opening that we're working our way around is still out on that side of us. I would guess it's about 100 or 150 yards. I'm trying to stay about that far away from the opening if I can. I'm guessing that the deer try and get about that far off the opening when they bed down. But I think we found our second shed of the day. Just saw the tines of it and the kind of flash in the sunlight. So I'm gonna go get the camera and take a picture of it, and then I'll pick it up and show you guys what it looks like. There's a closer look at the shed we just found. I actually, since I've been carrying that skull that we found also, actually took my backpack off, left that and the skull and the other antler laying on the ground over there. I'm gonna put this one with them also. So there's a look at what we found so far. Anytime I find a shed, I basically start circling the area that I found it, but the stuff is really thick and thick and low hanging, so I have to duck a lot of it. So I thought it would be easier to not be dragging my bow and stuff through the underbrush. At least then I could move a little quicker, a little sleeker. I'm actually gonna, that looks a little thicker than this. It looks like there's a trail right here, so I'm actually gonna go this way first. I'm gonna try and make a circle kind of around this area and see if we can find maybe the match to that antler. It's always nice to find a matching set if you can. They don't always shed them in the same spot. Looks like a little piece of a antler right there. That one's chewed up pretty good. Looks old. Sorry, I accidentally bumped the record button. So it's like dirty, and that one got chewed up a lot. Maybe this might even be 2 years old. I don't know. I'm gonna keep working around in the circle and see if we can find anything else. There's lots of deer sign in here. I'm guessing they like all this side cover. So they'll probably come and bed down next to it, or maybe some of this stuff provides some nutrients in the winter when things are scarce. It's definitely kind of quiet back in here, and it's not that windy today. It's like 8-mile-an-hour winds today, but I could see where some of this side cover would keep it from being, it was windy for them if they wanted to bed down in here. There's some vines and stuff in here too. I don't know if those grapevines or not. Looks like we're getting back out into the open a little bit. I'm actually gonna make another little bigger circle through here. I'm gonna try and work my way back to the bag, get my stuff back on and just keep moving. See if we can find any more antlers today. Definitely starting well, and we've been out since about 7 o'clock or so. It's 9:10 right now, so it's definitely turning into a good morning. And there's a quick look at what we found so far today. I'm gonna pack everything up and get going. So I ran back into the trail right here, and I wanted to point out that all of these trails out here are like matted grass. They're not muddy, they're not. I know a lot of people like to go hike with their dogs. My wife and I like to do the same thing. But if you're looking for a spot to come out and take your dog for a walk, especially in the spring when it's muddy, wet, rainy everywhere, this is a place that you could come out and go for a hike. There is like these trails through the wilderness area, or the wildlife management area, that you could get on with your dogs. I would definitely recommend staying on the trails, just so you don't run into turkey hunters or deer hunters in the fall. But it's a nice place. I'm going to tell my wife when I get back home that it'd be a nice place to bring the dogs. We have 2 small dogs, but it'd be a nice place to bring the dogs and let them go for a walk where they don't get all muddy. Like some of the state park trails get kind of muddy in the spring. Just walking through the opening here. We're out in the kind of the middle of the opening. I was cutting across the corner of it. I just came from right there. Found another little skull right here. So I'm gonna pick that up, add it to our collection, and keep moving. I was shed hunting down the edge of the field right here, and I got to this. I thought I'd pop the camera on and give you a look at it. There is a fair amount of deer sign in here. There's also a tree stand in that tree right there. So I've probably seen 8 tree stands total today. So definitely probably not a place that I want to donate a ton of time to deer hunting, but it's fun to come down here and turkey hunt and shed hunt. And there's a lot of people that come down here and mushroom hunt also. Some of them aren't afraid to walk up to your ground blind, your turkey hunting blind, and ask you if you've seen any mushrooms. So I always ask them if they saw any turkeys way by. But that's just the game you play on public land, you know. I'm gonna head back out of the opening right here, get back on the trail, and start working back to the Jeep. We cut through the woods off that opening. That's the woods we cut through right there, which was really thick. We actually ended up popping back out kind of in that, by that first place that we shed hunted on the way in. So gonna head back up the road, get to the Jeep, go home, and get ready to do a little exploring and fishing this afternoon. Hopefully we'll catch a couple fish.